Hey guys, in this episode, we are going to talk about marketing for artists and if you are an artist, why it's so important for you to learn how to market yourself. Welcome to episode 4 of Market and Hustle, the podcast, where we deep dive into digital and social marketing. And we also unpack the stories of self-starters on their journey to building a personal brand and a business. I'm your host, Zarin, and across from me today, we have my friend, VLVT Jones, who is a DJ, an illustrator, an editor. I mean, he's an artist in every shape or form. He used to be based in Miami. When I was there, that's where we met. And now he's here in Brooklyn. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, sir.
So now that you've been in the music scene here in Brooklyn, obviously it's a big contrast to how things were in Miami. Are there things that you are doing now from a marketing lens that are fundamentally different? Or would you say the things that you were doing on SoundCloud and on social media in Miami are just like the same things you're doing now, but you're just in a different place?
It's pretty much the same thing, just a different place. I think the mindset first was just to get my feet wet within the circles, within the circuit of DJs. But in that sense, it's just been, people reaching out to me. I think I've just been having more people reach out to me, paying for beats, that type of thing, So I think it's just gotten different with just people reaching out to me as opposed from me actually making a change in the way I market myself.
And what are some of the things that you, how did you first get introduced to, making music on SoundCloud?
I would say my friend Paul, who goes by Amaral Ray, he was the one that got me with DJing in general. And then he got me Ableton. And then, in the summer of 2013, I believe, it was like fall. I just looked at a tutorial on how to make a song. And then I saw 13 seconds of it. And then I'm like, all right, that's enough. And then I started doing it my own. And then that's pretty much how it's just gone at this point. Just me going to YouTube. And to this day, I still go on YouTube. And I'm still looking at people on Twitter posting their, process. And I try to apply that to my own music.
But you've been doing this now for a while, and you've built somewhat of a fan base, right, on SoundCloud. And I know you mentioned several times that you've had people internationally reach out to you, and you've collaborated with people that you've never met before. Well, you met them through basically them finding your music on SoundCloud. At some point, did you watch videos to learn how to upload your music in a certain way to get discovered, or how did you? Was it more by luck? You just putting your music up there and catching traction, or how did you get? Because I know you have some songs that have gotten a decent amount of traction. So it's did you engineer that, or was it more just creating good music, putting it out there, and the algorithms?
I know for one track in particular, it kind of skyrocketed me. It's almost like Lil Nas X, where he's the Uptown Road, where the song is called. I don't even know.
Old Town Road, yeah.
Old Town Road. It was like that, and I think I had a lot of YouTube vloggers, or not even vloggers, just the people on what's the Vine, those people that make little comedy,
short content.
Who are those people
just creators?
Yeah, creators that are funny on YouTube that have big followers, and they reached out to me and they're like, "Can I put this up?" And yeah, and then
they wanted to use your music in
for
skit.
their skits, and then that obviously his skits had 50, I don't know, I think it had millions of views. I'm not sure. I gotta look back at it, but that blew. And then
But where were they posting this specifically?
They post this on YouTube and Instagram.
So they would tag your music in the description,
And this is the funny part, because I was so fresh, and I was.
What year was this, by the way?
2015.
Okay.
And I was so scared I was gonna get sued because I'm using a sample, of a Brazilian sample. So I'm just I'm playing with what can I do and what can I not do. I don't want to get sued, even though it's for free. I'm just brand new at this. I don't know. And I told him yo, don't tag me.
And how did these people find your music, though?
Because people kept asking, what's the song? What's the song? What's the song?
On SoundCloud?
On Instagram.
on Instagram.
Like you see the post, it's like Instagram, like who is this? And then
No, but I'm saying, how did these influencers find your music
SoundCloud.
Oh,
and then
okay,
they emailed me. Like I put my one of the best things I did was put my email on my SoundCloud. You know, like I never had it there because I'm just like, this is for music. But I'm just like maybe more professional about it. And then I had them reach out to me via email, and then I had like other artists, big artists, like contact me.
After these influencers
During, like, even at the same time. It was
it
all happening at the
for
same time.
song?
This all happened the same time with the same song. Yeah, it was
And what like, did you do anything particularly different, or you just uploaded another song, just like it was another week, just another song?
Dude, this song took like 3 hours to make. It's taken me weeks to make one song, maybe months for like one song. This one took me like 3 hours. And that's the thing where I've known about other producers. They say the same thing too. They get in the zone. They'll make this little beat. They don't think much of it. They'll release it, and then it's Old Town Road or whatever.
At this point, like, how many songs had you uploaded to SoundCloud?
Shit.
Like, were you doing this consistently?
Maybe 10, 15 songs. Yeah, it was like semi-consistently. And I had no style at this time because I started off doing like 80s, 70s type music. And I kind of am still doing that, but it was way more like it was not the sound I have now, and like everything was just so different, and it was like pretty bad. I thought my music's pretty bad because I just, like, it's everything's sonically was not right. When you talk about music, you want to like make sure the mastering is right, the mixing is right. None of that was right. To this day, it's still not right, but it's way better than it was. Like now I know my levels, but at that time the beats I had, they weren't that good. And I think like some of those songs I have hidden on my SoundCloud. I have them hidden. But at this time, I was still fresh. I think that was one of the first trap beats I might have released, if that's considered trap. Like 808 sounds. But yeah.
And was this like, so you said you released about like 10 of these songs. In what time frame was this? Was this like 2 months, a year?
I started...
Like, how frequently were you publishing?
Man, maybe like once every 2 months. Maybe it'll be a month where like 1 week I release it, the next week I release another one, and then I won't release for another 3 months, and then 1 month, like it might be like every month. It was like that, And a lot of it was edits, remixes. Usually how it always starts with producers when they first start. It's always edits, and then I started making my own like actual beats.
And were you using your Instagram or any other channels to get people to SoundCloud? Because I imagine you create a SoundCloud from scratch, you didn't have an audience. So how are people discovering your music?
This is how I got into video. I wanted to promote myself, so I'm just like, how do I know graphic design. I could post a picture, I can make an image, cover art, but it's like static. I want something to be moving. So then that's when I started doing downloading YouTube videos and like using Premiere Pro, not knowing how to use Premiere Pro, and then I would do that. And I remember the first song I did from Premiere Pro, it was bad, but I'm making a living now off video editing because of that. But that's one thing I did was promote, and I dive into YouTube. Like, I mean, me, or people who know me, they know the weird shit I'm into. Why
don't you tell us?
Like, not that weird, but like, fucking like.
But like, let's go
crazy
back to
art. I'm into like art, so I really watch like 80s movies, 70s movies, things that people had never seen or heard before, documentaries. And it looks crazy, and it makes it.
Well, I know I've seen a lot on your Instagram stories that you take these like 80s and 90s like pop cultural, like iconic movies or just like moments, and then you'll stitch your music to it.
Yeah.
So that's a marketing strategy, right? Because nostalgia is a big thing in marketing, period. Anything that we remember from the 90s, from when we were younger, there's a sense of comfort and emotion that's tied to that. So when we see that stuff, like if I see around Christmas time a Home Alone movie, I'm just like, I might not watch it, but if I see a trailer for it, I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
Even if I watched that movie a bunch of times, or A Christmas Story, which was another popular 90s like Christmas movie. So you were taking your music and you were tying it to these visuals. So anybody that's following you on Instagram, they might be your friend, and they might not really be subscribed to your music,
Mm-hmm.
but you were stopping them with something that, kicked back a memory just enough for them to maybe listen for a couple of seconds. And I'm sure you got some followers that way.
Yeah.
But the majority of it just sounds like it just built organic from you putting your music out on SoundCloud, and then people just really vibing with the music you were putting out. So that's interesting. Now, for the people that don't know that might be listening, you obviously took your editing skills with Premiere Pro and you've turned that into a career. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now with that?
Yeah. So came to New York. I was just looking for jobs. I'm basic. When it comes to like videography or cinematography, I could hold the camera, I could press play, I could shoot. So I was just using that to my advantage with just, freelance gigs, and then did some design, left the design agency, and then went to another marketing agency called Ralph Interactive, and they specialize with, from our sector, it's mostly like streaming sites, whether it's like Netflix or HBO Max or Amazon Prime. But they do so many other things. I think they won an Emmy Award for, they did some work for Mr. Robot, but like some promotional material online. But yeah, it's...
So you're doing a lot of ads, like...
Yeah, pretty much promotion, whether it's like through YouTube or Instagram, social media, different channels. That's pretty much what I'm doing now. And I'm like the video motion graphics guy, pretty much.
You know, one thing that's crazy, and this is like pretty common in the creative community, is that obviously it's very hard to have a career as an artist within any art form. Obviously some art forms are more difficult than others. But what usually starts to happen, and this is what I noticed when I lived in South Florida, is that you realize, all right, there's this thing that I'm very passionate about that I want to do. For me, it was breaking. And I was just like, all right, I don't think I can pay my bills doing this right now. So I need to find other things I can do on the side to kind of complement that stuff. So that's when I started saying, all right, I'll do performances at live events. I'll, if there's someone casting for a commercial, I'll go and I'll audition. So you find all these like things to fill in, as you start getting some kind of like stability. What I find is, and one of the things I thought about in college is like, why not do something that complements my passion, so that the better I get at that side hustle, the more effective I am with my passion. I happened to go into marketing because I figured, well, if I can get better at marketing, I can get more clients to hire NBDS Productions, which is my production company, and I can keep dancing longer. I can have more longevity. But I also thought about it in the sense of like, well, there's other things you could do, right? If you're a dancer, you can try to become a physical trainer, right? Or a nutritionist, because now this is a service you can offer other people to make money, but it also benefits you. And in that same way, I kind of see, as like you shotgunned out into these different disciplines, kind of because you had to, not necessarily because you were looking to make a career as a motion or a graphic designer or anything like that. It was more of like necessity of like, well, I need to get my stuff out there. And if I figure this stuff out, I can actually get one step closer to my real passion, which is making this music and putting it out there. And now you're like in this place where you can still make music and you have something that gives you this sense of financial stability. So they kind of all like coexist. And it's interesting because sometimes I've seen artists that they're struggling with their main thing, and they've gotten really good at something else, right? Whether it's like video or motion, but they're just like so stuck on making it with their one passion, and they're not seeing themselves as like a multi-hyphenated creative, where they might not realize that maybe their calling is the other thing, and it's funny because a lot of times I feel like you can only achieve creative accomplishments when you're young. But a lot of like very successful people actually later on in their life find success. So what are your thoughts on that situation? Like, obviously, like, is this something that you intentionally got to the place you were, or do you feel like you're just kind of following your passion and things unfolded from there?
Yeah. So my first passion was design. Went to school for design. I remember I took off a summer. I never went back. But yeah, everything was first. My first love was design, and then music came along because, obviously fucking love music. Now I'm in this place where like, damn, I'm doing music, but I'm not making a living off the music, but I love what I'm doing as well. I just want to keep staring up. Like, I want to get better in, the creative field, maybe get some like art direction, creative direction in that way. But I also want to get better at making music as a better producer. I need to like spend more time just behind the computer and just get way better with, understanding music theory. Because that's one thing I've just been pushing down away from me, like learning music theory, learning piano, learning guitar. I could play by ear. A lot of people could play by ear, but like it's gotten to a point where it's like, if I want to be legit, I have to really dive into like actual theory and understand how sound works. And as well as mixing and mastering and getting levels to the point where it's like, I could do it. I could make an actual living with this, but I don't want to. The scary part for me right now is knowing like music is something I love to do. That's the thing that takes me away from the nonsense going on. Like I get joy from making music. I don't want to get to this point where like, for one, like instance, I have to make a certain song and I have to make it make money, because if not, shit, I might have to like do something else, right? Like I know a lot of producers that are just like doing work because they don't want to do it, but it's just to like put money for rent, like give them for rent. It's like I don't want to do that. Like I love what I'm doing. Like I'm in a happy place right now. I've been trying to get to this happy place for the last couple of years, coming from Miami, and it was hard, but I just see myself going up the ladder in every endeavor I do. So I love Rick Pharrell. Like that's one of those key inspirations that we can, everyone knows like this guy is ill when it comes to like whatever designs he's a part of, whatever brand he's a part of, and that came secondary. The music was first. You know what I mean? And like I want to kind of interweave my music with whatever I'm doing, whether it's illustration, motion graphics, or whatever. Like I want to like get to that level where it's like I'm known for doing this and that.
So you want to define your brand and what you're doing from all angles, like not just the sonic part of it, but the visual part of it as well. It's like one complete complementary experience that you're trying to create.
My thing is creating. Like my thing, I love to create. It would be much better if I could just zoom in on one thing and I'll be great at it because I'll just zoom in on it. But like I'm doing these things and it's like that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I love it. I love doing that.
How does your creative process from making music impact your creative process with video? Is it like, do you take things from it? Are they exclusive, like you do something completely different when you're making music versus when you're doing motion design or graphic work or video?
It's like a plan starts obviously in my head. Like, I mean, some people have different ways of just like playing something and like see where it turns out, but me, it's like I like to have a vision in my head, like what am I gonna make, how's it gonna sound. Let me listen to other music and see how that is, whether when I'm doing like video or design with a client, I have to like pull from them, right? I have to like ask these questions, like what are you looking for, what are you trying, and then I have to like start, do a little mood board, and that's kind of, that's how I do with music too. But the mood board is just one dimensional. So I just hear a song or two and I'm like, all right, I want something to sound like this. I'll take some elements from that. I'll try to recreate that, but make it my own. And that's kind of like art. I mean, pretty much that's art. I forgot who wrote the book, but it's like, dismantling art, like you take it, but like you're not really fabricating it. You're kind of making your own, I think a lot of graffiti artists do that. And maybe B-boys, right? I mean, is that how it is in breakdancing? They do the same thing in terms of like...
I would say so. Like you have foundations that everybody learns, and it's kind of accepted that that's like where you're going to start. But the idea is you're going to build upon that. And at some point, what you're doing should look like your own. It's built upon a foundation, meaning that I can't just go and start rolling around on the floor and be like, oh, this is breaking. Like, no, it has to sort of look and feel a certain way. But within those rough parameters, that is the art form, the dance, then you can make it your own. So yeah, I think it shares a similar creative process wise, probably very different. But what I find that is interesting, one of the things I've learned that I've kind of adopted into my process is whenever I'm dealing with anything complex from like a marketing strategy perspective, I have my foundations, right? Just like breaking, just like hip hop dance, there's a certain way I have to go about things. But something that I like to do is if I have a complex project that I'm trying to work on, I don't try to solve it right away. I actually think about it and I let it sort of seep into my subconscious, and then I walk away from the project. Depending on if it's something I'm doing for myself, sometimes it could be a couple days, sometimes it could be a couple weeks, and usually at some point something hits me. I'm not even thinking about that project, but it's almost like an idea comes to me, and then I kind of go from there. And this is an idea that, I didn't come up with this process. This is something that I've sort of stolen from Adam Grant, who's an organizational psychologist at Wharton. And it's something that came from a study he did where he was actually, he was approached by the founders of Warby Parker, and they asked him to invest in the company. And at that point, they didn't have a name, but they knew that they were going to be an e-commerce company that was going to disrupt the glasses industry. And a couple of weeks before they launched, they didn't have a name, so he decided not to invest in the company. Long and behold, they become $1 billion valued unicorn, and then he realized he made a mistake. He thought because they were procrastinating that they were probably not going to do well in business because they were waiting till the last minute. He ended up doing a study that looked at people's decision making and correlated it to like outcomes, meaning if you make a decision quickly, are you going to be more successful than someone that waits till the last minute to make a decision? So there's the type A personality, which are the people that are going to make the decision right away. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have procrastinators, which are going to wait for the last minute. And what he ended up finding is that it's the people somewhere in the middle that tend to make the best decisions, because oftentimes the first decision is not going to be the best decision. Also, waiting to the last minute might not also give you the best outcomes. But if you give yourself enough time to let your subconscious mind absorb what the problem is, it can actually facilitate you finding the right solution. Because during the day, we think very structured. When we sleep and our mind takes a lot of information into our long-term memory, it can think about problems in a very unstructured way without the same logical boundaries. So one of the things that I took from that study is, all right, if I have a very complex problem, whether it's marketing or outside of marketing, I'm just not going to try to solve it right away. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to come to some ideas, but part of my creative process is don't jump to the first idea that comes at you. So now I want to talk a little bit about your experience in the creative community, in Miami versus Brooklyn. Obviously, you've been here about 2 years now, a little bit longer, and there's a creative community around music, DJs, producers. You're obviously connected to one experience of that in Miami, but now in Brooklyn, it's a different experience of that community. What do you feel have been some of the challenges, as an artist coming out here, sort of rebuilding yourself, rebuilding this yourself within this community, and marketing yourself, of course, because that's part of the process too, right? If you want to be performing at venues and putting your music out there, obviously pre-COVID, it was a lot easier, but part of the process is getting out there, getting in front of people, getting the local community to get behind you to some degree. And so my question is, how has that experience been? And what are some of the things you've done to market yourself and get yourself out there that you think have been successful?
Yeah, it's been awkward for me because I'm not like an outgoing person and going up to like random people and like saying, you know, what up. It was kind of easier for me because in the sense that some people knew who I was before I came up here. Like people downloaded my music originally, you know, like for instance, Funkin' Vibe. They used to like play my music and I used to fuck with them too. So when I came down, I saw they're having things. So I came, I introduced myself. They're like, yo, just like, waiting, you know, like, and then that's how I kind of steamrolled from them, you know, mostly around Funkin' Vibe.
Are they like a DJ collective or?
Yeah, they're a collective from Long Island, but they did a lot of events in Brooklyn. It's like the first week I came, I remember that's like the first event I went to was theirs. Met some cool folks out there. And that's pretty much the scene that I would be similar to like Love Below, because Love Below I was really heavily, you know, affiliated with them, you know, like those are the homies. And yeah, so
in Miami,
yeah, so Funky Vibe, those were them. But yeah, just like I don't know, like in terms of marketing, it was weird because let's say I want to play for a club, you know, I would reach out to these venues, never get a response. It's like they have to know who I am and I have to know somebody to get to them. You know, I have to know a middleman. I have to know somebody who runs the spot in that sense. And it was kind of happening in that sense where like, I remember I DJ'd a show somewhere and we met this lady and she worked for this other venue and then we got to that venue and then like I started seeing the same guys go to that venue. So I'm like, oh, I guess it, you know, once again, organically, you know, they hear the music, they like it. It's a matter of trying to get out there.
How'd they hear your music?
I knew a homie that had an event at a venue, and I spun that event, and the lady ended up just being there. She was just a patron, and then she had a venue, and like we go, okay.
So she heard you playing. She was just like,
yeah, she liked the vibes, you know. So that's went to that, and then, I don't know. I would just notice some DJs download my music because I would see it on SoundCloud, like, and then I don't know, I'd follow back or I'd reach out to them through Instagram and like, yo, I gotta link up, you know, let's link up.
Like local DJs.
Locally, New York, NYC DJs. But yeah, and it's tough for me because I'm very, yeah, like I'm outgoing to a certain degree, you know, like I'm just not, I'm like introverted, but like if you talk to me, I'll be like willing to talk back, you know. It's all about the person I'm talking to. Like I hate pulling teeth. I always go back to that, you know, like trying to small talk. I hate small talk. I don't know how to small talk. You know, sometimes I hate bringing up the weather.
But yeah,
you know, like for me, it's tough in that nature, man. And I'm always in the room creating, and it's like now I have to force myself to go out and like network. So one of the things, it wasn't even music, but like yeah, it was music. I would go to like meetups, like Ableton meetups, or like 343 Labs, and like they would do some like tutorials on making beats, and that's how I kind of like started meeting more people. And those places, they're just all about networking. That's all it is. Right. Afterwards, talking. And even then, I'm still like, I don't want to, you know.
Did you feel it was like networking with an agenda, or just like just people that were just like genuinely passionate?
Half and half. Half and half. I feel like some people are just there just to like, you know, yeah. I've gotten some instances where it's just like, bro, you're just trying to, I know you're trying to level up, I guess, but yeah, maybe at the same time, it's like we all want to build together, you know, like that's the point. It's building. Not really trying to step on other people's toes, trying to get to know people, link, learn from each other. I mean, that's what I'm all about. I mean, I've learned more through music, whether it's through marketing or just the art of making music, just through collaboration. So I found it good to collaborate. I don't think I've collaborated a lot with a lot of New York people, but I've definitely collaborated with anyone that has a computer.
Well, it's funny. That's how we met, through collaboration in Miami. We used to throw this event called Mad Noise, which was like a tribute to a real 90s hip hop dance party. And I didn't know you personally, but I knew you through New Creed and Catalyst. And I had been at his 10-year anniversary, like with his wife, like that party, and you were spinning.
I was DJing.
you were DJing, and then Anonymous, when I was telling Anonymous that I was looking for another DJ for the party, he threw your name in the hat, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of remember him.
Crazy.
So it's like through mutual connections, and that's what Mad Noise was. It's just, it was a party, but it was all collaboration. Like, it was Renata from Immaculate Streetwear. She had her streetwear brand. I was throwing parties before that. She started throwing her own party, and then she was actually the one who approached me and said, hey, we should do something together. And I always thought about it like, I had just moved to Miami. I'm like, I know people here, but we're going to need other people that are doing their own thing locally, to pull like an audience together. And obviously we have a lot of friends that are dancers and like into the entertainment industry and in the scene. But that was like a genuine like collaboration project, which is so sad that now there's like events aren't really happening like that with the whole pandemic. But that was such a great thing because it, even if for like one day every couple of months you could bring all these people together that usually aren't in the same room together, it's just nice, you know. A lot of those people, I would always say, like, we would see each other on working on sets, like we were always working together, but we didn't always have the ability in the entertainment industry to socialize together. So that was, you know, a really good hub to bring that audience together, those people together. And funny thing is, I feel like I've learned so much as a marketer through event marketing, because it's one thing to get somebody to do things online. It's a completely different thing to get somebody to leave their house on a Friday night, get dressed up, and bring them to a physical place, especially if you're charging them money. Mm-hmm. And in Miami, there's so many things to do. There's a lot of free things to do. Mm-hmm. So getting people to a venue in my like event marketing, getting someone to a physical place, I felt like there was so many learning lessons, at least for myself as a marketer. And I think we were able to do that quite effectively. Now, a lot of it was because we have a lot of friends that have followers, and this was an event for our friends, basically. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's like you create a product that the people want, and then you package it and you give it to them. And the first couple times we did that party was free. So it was like we were giving the product away for free, and people liked it. They kept coming back. I would actually love to bring that party back in a post-pandemic world, however that could shape up. But yeah, Miami and Brooklyn are two different places, but there's so much similarity shared within the creative community. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you met people here in in Brooklyn that are from Miami, or like same circles, or?
Same circles, yes. I would have to say a lot of times no. I mean, I went to like this party. It was like the Love Below was doing it a couple times. Sucks that this whole pandemic happened, man. Like they were getting it in like every month. They would come up. Like
wasn't there a bunch of like parties from Miami that were being
doing it up here? Even though I think pretty sure Norm and I would have some parties up here too. Like it was a thing. Yeah. And that's how it is. Like you get it, people show each other love. So like they show love here and they'll show love here. Maybe for our balls and they'll have things, you know. So like they try to help each other out. True. So for me, I actually haven't really met a lot of people from Miami that are like, as terms of producers and DJs. It's mostly been like a lot of New York, like born and raised, you know, which I love meeting born and raised, because, you know, in New York, it's a lot of transplants, you know.
Yeah, from different places.
Exactly.
Do you see yourself here in Brooklyn long term?
I mean, long term, I would change that to, do you see yourself in America long term? Oh. Like, that's the question. Because I don't like the way America is going.
I think a lot of people don't like the way America is
going. I love New York. I think no matter if I leave or not, New York is going to stay relevant. Like, I know we had this conversation, but I feel like even when all the cool, hip people leave, the originators are going to stay here. And I feel like those people are
it's a culture haven.
New York, and they're the ones that make New York what it is. So I think New York's going to be fine. And whether I stay or go, I feel like New York is going to be fresh. I I feel like I read that they're gonna be a huge tech hub in the next 5 years, like one of the biggest in America, like bigger than like San Francisco or Cali. Something I read.
New York is gonna be.
Yeah, like New York City. They were talking about it. I was like, okay, but I was like, damn, there's a lot of like if New York is like one of the. This is not like the. I want to say the best city in the world, man. I want to say that honestly because
There's just so much.
There's just so many people from different parts of the world coming here, living here, trying to build, and it's tough, and it's so tough, and it's grimy.
I don't think people actually understand how living in New York is tough. I don't think they actually really know what that is like. Like waking up when it's like 30 degrees, getting on a train packed with people, almost fighting your way into and out of the train, like getting to work. Getting to work is just like, it's a mission. Compared to, I mean, it depends where you live. Depends where you live. Like us coming from Florida, you're able to get in a car, climate controlled. You have your space. You drive somewhere. You can park in a garage. You can. There's parking available. Like it was a different experience. Just getting to work in the morning, completely different experience.
It makes you depressed too. Like for me, I was a little depressed this year. I was like, damn, man, I gotta wake up early in the morning, try and catch a train at this time, and I'm on the top platform with the J train. So it's like, damn, I'm getting the cold air. Miss my train. I gotta wait for long, and then I used to hate that. I was kind of like, it sucks. I kind of relieved that I could work from home. And I think a lot of companies are starting to take notice, like, wow, we're saving money by work, and we're still doing a thing. But yeah, it's tough in that sense. It's really gritty. Even dealing with people with like mental issues, like that's a thing that's really rampant out here. Whether like you're an artist or just an actual person who's going through stuff, man. And that's tough. Like being homeless in the winter, that shit is crazy. Like I don't know how they do it, but in that sense, like that's really, really tough. But once you go past that, it's like, damn, like I don't know. I've told you this before, and I still to this day I maybe because I've been here for 2 years, it's gonna be 3. Like every time I look at the skyline of like New York City, I get like, damn, like I can't believe I'm here. Like there's so much promise for me. I could do, like when I was in Miami, I feel like it was just so small and there wasn't much for me, in terms of the work. And then here, I feel like I have the freedom to do that. But in terms of long term, like I would love to be long term in Brooklyn if our government fucking shaped up. But I have family that are in law enforcement and military, and just like you, like a lot of us, we have that. But it's like, yo, at some point, we have to just like take notice of what's going on and be like, okay, is there a future that I want to raise my family here? Because it might get to that point. Maybe I want to raise someone with a different mindset somewhere else. I don't know, but I've been looking into it,
I think a big part of also that mobility is being able to work remote. Like we literally, well, I don't know if this was your only motivation, but I know for myself, I came to New York for a job because I wanted to grow in my career. And I felt like in Florida, I did everything that there was to do within paid social advertising. I worked at the biggest agency. I worked for a late stage startup, and then I was like, well, what's next? Like, how do I keep growing? And then I was like, well, in order to grow, I'm going to have to go and move to where the jobs are at, which is New York. Now, obviously, things are changing because almost anybody that works from a laptop is working from home. The question is, when things ellipse and this pandemic starts to subside, is that going to be the new norm? That's going to be acceptable for you to work remotely, that you're going to be able to negotiate these work arrangements, or a business is going to come back and be like, hey, you have to be back in the office. Because if you don't physically have to be in the city, again, now what is stopping you from going wherever you want to be, but actually having the job that fits your career trajectory or your experience? Yeah.
And with music, there's a thing where a lot of there's like, I don't know, tension, but like there's this like debate about like DJs moving from Miami to LA and moving to New York, and like I think I read this in Miami New Times, and like we're gonna stand firm in Miami, like fuck that, I'm gonna be a ride or die in Miami. And I'm just like, yo, that's cool. If you want to make music, you can make music anywhere, because you could be in Arkansas. Like I know producing DJs from like Kansas and Iowa, and they're making fire. But I think I'm thinking financially. Like I want to be, you know, financially able to like provide for myself in a way where I'm not like slaving at a job that I don't want to do. I
Yeah.
know what I want to do. I want to do design. I want to be creative. I want to do video. I want to, um, when you look at the salaries compared to like Miami or Florida to like other places like California, New York, like it's like low, you know. And I got offered a job for art director for like 40,000 a year, art director. You know, junior designer out here, you could get like 60,000, 65. Junior art director. I was like, and they hit me up for that like 3 years ago, like the year I moved, and like that's where I've been like juggling. I was juggling with that for a minute. I'm like, I'm just gonna make I'm just gonna do it, and it was fucking hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I was here for like a year, maybe almost more than a year, like living with folks, with my family. And bro, God bless them, because if it wasn't for them, I would have been homeless, and I would have been happy homeless, because I would have been like, you know what, I don't want to be in Florida. Like I remember I talked to my dad about it. I'm like, yo, even if I wasn't here, like I would have been like, I was thinking about like, damn, I might have to be homeless. I might have to like do shelters or something, because like I feel like there's so much promise out here, and I want like it's at my fingertips. I know I'm gonna get it at some point.
Yeah.
So like having family out here really helped me. But then once I got past that and like things started building up little by little by little, and I have all this stuff in my portfolio, it's like, the world is your oyster. And it's like I'm at this point where like I'm comfortable, but I can't get too comfortable, and I have to create more. I have to get better at my craft. I have to get better in doing music or in this. But like now it's like I'm upping the ante every time, But yeah, that's really the main focus of why I moved from Miami, is because I wanted to make more money.
So what advice would you give, artists, or whether they're making music or doing design, motion graphics, whatever, and they're at that point where they're just like, they have this drive to continue growing, and they're not in New York, they're not in LA, they're not in a major design or creative hub. What advice would you give them on how to move forward?
Bro, try to make sure you know what you love, what to do. Because I knew what I wanted to do. I think a lot of people, like, they're doing these, like, I mean, not to, like, shit on them, but, like, they're doing jobs that they don't want to do just to, like, but it's, like, I know what I love, and I kind of leverage that. I figure out something you love, and, like you said, see how you can, like, maybe monetize it, and how it could, like, cultivate with whatever it is that you're doing, right? So, like, breaking and marketing, like, that kind of came together, that type of thing. It came from that. And then if you are going to go strictly music, man, go hard in the music. Because I know a lot of producers that were just broke for years, and then, like, now they're able to get a crib just by selling their beats on, like, these websites, and, selling beat packs or whatever. But, like, that, like, if you're going to go in it, go all in. Like, don't half-ass it. Because we know people within our circles that are just, like, not really getting it in, and you kind of see where they're at. So we kind of have to put ourselves within circles of people that are actually getting it in, and, like, try to, like, build off that, that's, like, and choosing the right friends to be around too, man. Like, that's, I think, important. Like, having the right people with the right mindset. Like, I feel like Miami, for me, I'm so close. I grew up with people in Miami. Obviously, we went different routes and different places in our lives. Some of them are not really doing what I want to do. And, like, I don't really
You got to surround yourself with people who are on the same path.
I'm still close to people. I know people from high school still, but I don't chill with them because they're doing other things that doesn't really pertain to me or what I want to do. And then, like, some of them might hold you back. It's hard. It's tough to say.
There's a sense of comfort. Yeah. And there's also, like, a sense, like, sometimes if you're really doing your thing, it makes your friends feel like they're not doing anything. So they might want to pull you down if you're too ambitious. So it is important for you to curate your circle of friends. I think that's great. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning into another episode of Market and Hustle, the podcast. If you guys have any questions or topics that you want us to cover in a future episode, make sure to DM us on Instagram at Market and Hustle, or you can comment below if you are watching on YouTube. Also, for those listeners who stayed around to the end, we're offering you a 20% offer off of our premium digital crash course, Social Marketing That Converts. It's a step-by-step program designed for service-based business owners who want to generate more leads and sales for their business. It's a crash course. It's structured to take you from essential social marketing fundamentals to activation. So make sure you check that out at markethustleacademy.com and use coupon code M&H podcast 20 at checkout. Again, that's M&H podcast 20 at checkout. This is Zarin coming to you with VLVT Jones from the Big Apple. Until the next episode, peace.
Peace.